Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer here. You are there. Charlie Usen is over there producing today's show. Good afternoon, Mr. Charlie.
How's it going?
It is going just fine and dandy. Coming up on today's show, no guests, zero guests, not a one. We had a lot of guests yesterday. I said, well, you know what? Today we're going to open this bad boy up, let you all have some fun and participate with Charlie and myself after we flooded you with guests yesterday. But there was a lot of news yesterday. Brewers riding a 5-game losing streak. Tim Dillard joined us. We had Tom Maluski out from the Wisconsin State Journal, Badgers Extra, talking about Chris McIntosh stepping down. And then, of course, Eric Name in the 4 o'clock hour from the Athletic, Bucks beat writer, talking about Doc Rivers stepping down. So it was a busy day. Lots of news, lots of guests today. Not as much. But still some news. And the fact that Christian Yelich is headed to the IL. Now, when that game was over, I believe that Pat Murphy said it was hamstring related and there might be some fluid in the hamstrings, right?
That is exactly what he said, yeah.
I see that Christian Yelich is on the 10-day injury list due to a left groin strain. Does one correlate with the other? I am not a doctor.
Not as far as I know. Like, your groin is on the front of your body and your hamstring is on the back of your body. It was on the same side. I'm pretty sure. I think they said left side for both, but maybe it was just some tightness he felt overall in his leg, and then it just kind of went to one spot after a couple of days.
Well, I don't want a hamstring torn, and I definitely don't want his groin to be torn. So whatever the case may be, take your time. We don't have to rush you back in 10 days. I don't care what the Brewers are playing like. This is a marathon and not a sprint, as they say every baseball season on every radio station around the country. That's what this is. And regardless of the fact that it's said a ton, doesn't really matter. It's still facts of the matter. Now, the Brewers made the decision to go get Greg Jones, outfielder from AAA Nashville, to take Yelich's spot. And with that comes this question. Would you rather have seen somebody else get called up outside of Greg Jones in this situation where you are putting Yelich on the IL? Would you prefer it to be somebody else? Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250 is the phone number. So you can either call, you can text, whatever the case may be. I know some of you are like, who the heck is Greg Jones, Sparky? Yes, he was in spring training, if you follow that at all. So you might have seen him in spring training. He was a first-round pick from the Rays in 2018. Now, overall, a AAA, he has hit 262, 344 on base, 438 batting or slugging in parts of 4 AAA seasons. So that's not horrible necessarily. But he's shown an especially concerning lack of contact skills and pitch recognition, punching out 36% of his AAA plate appearances against a solid but unspectacular 8% walk rate. Jones currently, however, this year, again, small sample size again, hitting 317, 462 on base, a measly 390 slugging in 52 plate appearances with Nashville so far. He has stolen 7 bags in 9 tries. Now, originally he was a shortstop when drafted, but he has played far more outfield, obviously, recently. And you can play all 3 outfield spots as well. And again, fits in the Brewers mold of a dude that can flat out run. So that is what they've decided to do. They've decided to call up another outfielder. Now, the DH position has to be Gary Sanchez on most nights, I would think. And I don't really care if it's a lefty or a righty, I play him. And as Tim Dillard said, lefty or a righty, Jake Bauers, if nothing else for his defense, you play him at first base and to get that bat in there. Because when he gets hot, we saw in spring training, he can carry you for a little bit. So those 2 positions should be solidified. Garrett Mitchell plays every day. Bryce Turang plays every day. William Contreras plays every day. Then After that, well, Sal Frelick, I guess you're going to play him every day, even though he's not playing all that well offensively. So Sal Frelick's going to play every day too. So now you're talking about one outfield position that you have to fill between Lockridge, Perkins, and Greg Jones. Between those three, you have to fill an outfield position. And then obviously the left side of the infield, that is Ortiz, and then either it's going to be David Hamilton at this point, and who's the other one that I'm blanking on right now?
Luis Rengifo.
Yeah, Rengifo. That's why I forgot who it was. Rengifo, that's the other one. So that's what we're looking at. Is the lineup impacted by Kev not having Christian Yelich? Absolutely. Was this the right decision to call up Greg Jones, who is more of a vet, even though he's got only a cup full of coffee at the major league level, but he is 28 years old, versus maybe going with somebody else, maybe a younger player to give them a taste in the big leagues? Who would you rather have seen get called up if not for Greg Jones? Nikolai Lautaka, text line 414-677-1250. On the social, streaming live at WI Sports Radio on YouTube and on X. You can comment in the Dugout YouTube chat there as well. We'll make sure to read some of those comments as they come in. Charlie Usen, I think you're going to have the most popular take on this whole deal. Feel free to share.
All right. First, I would like to say Todd Rosiak just posted 1 minute ago. The Brewers are estimating Christian Yelich's return from a second-degree left adductor strain to be mid to late May right now. So it's on the longer end, which means it's closer to that grade 3 strain that McAlvey was talking about.
So they're not going to be fully healthy till the end of May.
Probably not.
Providing nobody else gets it.
And I guess the only positive silver lining I can see with this Greg Jones being brought up over some of these younger players that maybe deserve more of a shot right now at this point is, in my mind, maybe that means Jackson Chourio is getting closer to coming back here. They said mid-April to late April.
He can't even grip a bat right now.
But they said he's looking good otherwise. Yeah. Structurally, his hand is looking better at this point. And I think that that's something that I hope is the case, at least that he's ready to come back within the next couple of weeks here. At the same time, I mean, I would have given Cooper Pratt the chance. You signed him to this contract. You've seen all these other teams that also signed their top star or young players to contracts. Kevin McGonigal in Detroit, Connor Griffin in Pittsburgh. And I know Griffin hasn't played all that well. McGonigal just hit his first home run the other night. But you're seeing those players get this opportunity. Again, I said it last week too. They gave Jackson Chourio an opportunity once they gave him that contract. They said, we're ready. And it feels like you should do the same thing with Cooper Pratt. But the main reason I want Cooper Pratt to get a shot at the major league level is because that opens up a spot in the infield at AAA. And if that opens up a spot in Nashville at AAA, that means that Jesus Madej can get a shot at AAA potentially for a couple of weeks at least. And we can see if he can transition what he's done so well in AA so far in Biloxi to the AAA level and maybe give some juice to that AAA lineup too. Because right now, Greg Jones is one of the best batters in that lineup this season. You talked about his slugging percentage, and that really kind of kills his OPS a little bit, but still a really good start to the season so far. So statistically, yes, he deserves a shot, but I also want to see some of these younger players start to get their shots too.
Now, we have the issue with a 40-man roster. The best hitter down there right now is a 21-year-old Luis Lara at center field. Luis Lara has 2 home runs, 6 strikeouts to 8 walks, 8 stolen bases. He's hitting .367 in 49 at-bats, .456 on base, .551 slugging. That OPS is 1.007. And defensively, he's really good.
And that was a guy that was getting chances throughout all spring training, on a daily basis in that lineup, especially when the World Baseball Classic started. He was the young guy that was consistently in that spring training lineup over other guys like Jesus Madej or even some of these other players, Cooper Pratt. It was him that was out there. And I feel like that deserves a shot too.
Now, the one thing you know about Luis Lara, he is not on the 40-man. However, they're going to have to add him at some point before the end of the year to avoid him being in the Rule 5 draft. So he's going to have to get here at some point. So that means you cut somebody in order to get him up here and on this level, then that's what you do. But again, he's 21. So because of the youth, I'm sure that's part of the reason why they didn't want to call him up at this point. Cooper Pratt, your guy down at Nashville right now. He's only played 8 games. He only has 33 at-bats. He is hitting a .182, 270 on base, a .182 slugging. That is not good, my friend. 6 strikeouts to 4 walks, 2 stolen bases. In 33 at-bats, he has 6 hits. He has no extra base hits of the 6 hits.
Maybe he needs a little bit more pressure on him. I think he gets that contract. He's coming off this injury here. He's starting at AAA. Feels like there's not a lot of pressure on him going into the
Jet
season.
Williams is the other guy. He's playing third down at Nashville. He's got 51 at bats, more than anybody else on the roster in Nashville. He's hitting a $176, 311 on base, and a 176 slugging percentage. He has, let's see here. Let's see if I am reading this right. 9 hits in 51 at bats, no extra base hits.
Yeah, Williams concerns me a lot more than Cooper Pratt right now, if I'm being completely honest. Again, that was a guy that was supposed to be the star of that trade, and he feels like he's been the least productive out of any, even through the preseason. He didn't feel like he was giving you that same kind of pop. He had a couple triples. You saw him be able to use his legs on the base pass, but it didn't feel like he was that top prospect that we were hoping to get out of that trade so far. Again, Cooper Pratt is coming off this injury at the end of spring training. He has the big contract. He's starting at AAA. Like, I'm okay with him starting slow. Maybe he just does need that little jolt. Bring him to the major league level and say, hey, you're here now. Like, this is what we paid you for. Show us what you can do. Give him a couple weeks at the major league level, bump him back down to AAA after those couple of weeks and say, hey, do you feel like you kind of reset now? Do you feel like there's a different kind of push to you going into this, going back to AAA? And I think that's something I think could be really useful to a young player like Cooper Pratt.
Correct. From the 715, Kyle in Wausau, listening to us on the game in Wausau using the Nikolai Lautaka text line. Cheerio mid-May, Vaughn and Yelich late May around Memorial Day. Let's keep our fingers crossed that Mitchell stays healthy. That's Kyle in Wausau. Yeah. I mean, that's all part of it. But again, and I've said this, I really think this is kind of a gap year for them. They're kind of just getting through this year and then hoping their young bats are ready to play in 27. Now, remember something else, just to throw it out there, okay? You're not on the 40-man roster, right? And you're in the minor leagues. If there is a work stoppage in 2027 and they don't play, the minor leagues still go. So if you're a Wisconsin Timber Rattlers fan, or you live in the area of Appleton listening on WNFL, and let's say we get to spring training, there's nothing. We get to April, there's nothing. We get to May, still no Major League Baseball. But guess what? Timber Rattlers are rolling in April, baby, and they're playing. You could still go see these Brewers prospects play. So from the Brewers' perspective, they can continue to play these guys and get these guys experience. So if the season starts in June or in July, these guys will be having at-bats and ready to come on in and have their opportunity. So a Midday can still play through all of that. A Fisher can still play through all of that. A Laura, if he's still there, can play through all of that. I believe the rule is, I could be wrong, but I believe the rule is if you're on the 40-man, I don't know necessarily, I don't believe you're allowed then to play, even if it's in the minors. But if you're not, and you're in the minors, I believe you're allowed to play through a work stoppage in the minor leagues. I believe that's how it works. So if Lara were to be put on the 40-man like Pratt before the end of the year, that would kind of take him out. But these other guys that are in the minors that are coming up, all these young studs like Burke and these other guys, they all can continue to play. And then once they get up and going again, if the Brewers are like, okay, we're going to put you on the major league roster here and roll with you, they'll be ready to go.
So it has to be people are on the 40-man roster who are also members of the MLBPA. So if you're not a part of the MLBPA for some reason and you were put on a 40-man roster, you could still play in the minor league.
Oh, so meaning if Lara and Pratt aren't officially a part of it because they haven't played in the major leagues yet, they could still play. Oh, that's even better. All right, good. See that? Charlie is on top of it.
I tried.
He's so good at his job. Mike in Waukesha, you're next on the Nikolai Lautaka text line here on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Mike, if not for Greg Jones, who would you rather have seen get called up?
Well, Sparky, I would have liked to seen Lara get called up, but I mean, I understand they don't want to mess around with service time, and if the kid's successful, they might get stuck having to keep him. The thing about the whole thing is, why is it Milwaukee and Green Bay seem to be the only teams in any sport that have massive injuries all the time?
Yep.
And then again, we did the same thing we always do. We didn't address the third base situation. We go for these hope and a prayer. And I mean, you look at that lineup, and it is just sickening. You got the manager's son-in-law playing the outfield with Lockridge. You've got these other two guys who, Hamilton, I think I see a little more in than I see in Renifro or whatever his name is. But I mean, it's a pathetic lineup, and even Jake Bauers is only good for a couple hits a week. I mean, he's hitting around 214. There's nothing going to. I'm ready to jump off the ledge. There's nothing to watch here.
No. Don't jump
so
off the ledge.
Listen,
we were all mad last year at that Yankee series when they started off bad, and it ended up being just fine. Hang on there. Thanks for the call. Believe in the process. Believe in the process, season, man. Believe in the process. I think the Brewers have shown you enough over the course of time to let you believe in the process. And none of these injuries we're talking about are season ending. I mean, if we were sitting here today, April 14th, and we're saying Cheerio's gone for the year, Vaughn's gone for the year, and Yelich is gone for the year, then I'd be like, yeah, it's probably over. Then I'm with you. But they're not gone for the year. You essentially, this is how I look at it. I don't know how Charlie looks at it. If you could just hover around 500 until the middle to end of May when you get these guys back, and then start stringing together some wins, get yourself right back in the mix, and everything is fine. What you can't have happen is you're 8 to 10 games under 500 by the time these guys come back, because then that's going to take you at least 2-3 months to make up 10 games. And now you're back to 500, but now you're still probably several games behind or more of, say, the Cubs or the Pirates or the Reds or the Cardinals or however this division looks at that point, Charlie.
Well, and right now, like you were talking about with the division, it still is really tight. I think the Pirates are playing way better than even I expected. I expect them to be better this year.
Their free agent offensive pieces are playing well.
They're just on fire. O'Neal Cruz has learned how to hit left-handed pitchers out of nowhere. Like, this is all insane. So I feel like at some point they got to come back down to earth a little bit. And then I just don't trust the Reds. I don't trust the Cardinals at all. The Cubs look a lot worse, and they're dealing with a whole ton of injury issues like Mike was talking about. Yes, it feels like the Brewers and Packers sometimes are the only teams that deal with, but the rest of the league is dealing with this right now. The Cubs have tons of injuries. The team that you're about to play this next 3 days, Toronto, has dealt with tons of injuries throughout the start of the season. Like, you are not the only team. It's just got to get through these rough couple of months here. And yes, if Yelich, if Vaughn, if all these guys were out for the season, we'd have to call it done, but they're not. I think I also still get a little scared, though, because Yelich has been done for the season. He's had these injuries before. Churio spent some time last year injured. Like, these are worries that you should have, but not to the point where you're just saying, I'm jumping, man.
As you just said. So Churio missed time last year. Yelich missed time last year, and they won 97 games. 715 says, remember, we played some of our best baseball without Yelich last year. It's going to be okay. I'm not as concerned as far as you losing Yelich, for a month potentially. I think offensively, they'll be okay. The problem is the guys that aren't swinging the bat need to at least be MLB average. I mean, you need Ortiz to be MLB average. You need third base to be a lot better than third base is right now. You need Sal Frelick to play like he played last year. That's something that you have to get back to. On the 414 asking the question, Greg Jones being called up to replace Christian Yelich, the outfielder. The question is, who would you rather have seen get called up over Yelich? The 414 says, I don't think it really matters. Carroll probably. Let Sanchez get more DH at bats, and Carroll can back up catch. That's who Tim Dillard thought it was going to be yesterday. That's who I thought it was going to be yesterday. And they chose not to go in that direction. And if we look at the Nashville stats for right now, Jefferson Carroll, 35 at bats, hitting a .171, 293 on base, 257 slugging right now. That whole Nashville team can't hit. The only guys hitting down there are Greg Jones, and Luis Lara. That's it. I mean, everybody else isn't even sniffing 300 at this point on that roster. Ramon Rodriguez, I take that back. Ramon Rodriguez, another catcher down there, is hitting 458, and that's in 24 at bats, so limited amount at bats. But that would be the other guy down there that's actually hitting the ball besides those other guys.
Well, and I think, again, you look at Pratt, like I mentioned before, I think there's a lot of factors as to why he's starting off. So I think you could say the same thing about Caro, maybe in a little bit of a different vein. I think he's probably a guy that expected to be on that opening day roster and then wasn't on that opening day roster. And I think that can really kill some confidence for a guy that has spent a lot of time now with this Brewers team in the minor leagues, has had the injuries in the past that have been detrimental to a season for him. And now he feels like he's healthy. He's ready to go. They gave him that opportunity through spring training to be that second catcher for a majority of it, even though Gary Sanchez gets signed on a little bit later. And then all of a sudden you're starting the season at AAA. That can kind of hold you back a little bit. And I think this is a guy that give him a couple more weeks just to kind of calm down a little bit and he'll be okay.
Dude, we are on fire in the 715 right now. Another texter from the 715. Reason for concern, the first 5-game losing streak since June of 23. One thing that has resonated the past 3 seasons is that we won series and methodically extended a lead in the Central Division. So then at the end of the season, pressure was on the other teams to catch up. This year, bad at bats, actually horrible approaches, less than stellar defense, and some questionable coaching. And this team is looking more like 10 years ago in 2016. They won, what was it, 73 games that year?
73 and 89 he put on there.
Yeah. So that's obviously not a good number either. I would like to tell you I'm overly concerned. I'm not. My bigger concern is just the left side of that infield. The sooner they can figure out how to fix third base with an actual bat, even if they don't fix Ortiz, then that works out just fine for me. But that's got to be the thing. Like, if you're in on now, if you're in on this year, then the move is going to have to be to go find a third baseman on an expiring deal or a year additional left on his deal, so you're not blocking Madej or anybody else from coming up, and plug that person in. But nobody's making a trade. Nobody's giving up on the season in April. So even to go make that deal for, say, a third baseman, that's probably not going to happen until probably end of June at earliest.
The Mariners just brought up Patrick Wisdom, who hasn't played professional baseball since he played with the Cubs in like 2021.
Can't stand that,
they
dude.
just brought him to the major league level. So if he plays well for a couple of weeks, maybe you could give him a shot. It can't be any worse than like Hamilton or Renifo sometimes.
You know how that would work, don't you? Patrick Wisdom, who was Babe Ruth against the Brewers, hit home runs every time he saw him, would come to the Brewers and go 0 for like 65 as a Brewer and strike out like 60 times and be god awful. Like, you just know that's how that would go. There's no question that's how that would go. All right, take a quick time out. Come back on the other side. We're going to talk about Doc Rivers' replacement. Got an email with all of these odds of all these different names we're going to go through here. And I've got a favorite, a guy that I've not brought up. And this entire time talking about who I'd want to see replace Doc, I've not brought this name up because I guess I'm old and forgot that he was available, I guess. And he's old too. But I've found the guy that I want to coach this Bucks basketball team. I'll tell you who that is. Coming up next, I can't wait to hear who you want them to coach them too. Wendy's really outdid themselves with these new biggie deals at $4, $6, and $8. The new biggie deals are bigger and biggier than ever. If you're feeling something snacky, you can get the $4 Biggie Bites. Feeling something medium, get yourself a $6 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. If you want to go full Biggie, you can get the $8 Biggie Bundle with your choice of 2 sandwiches and a small drink and a Junior Fry. The choice is yours. For a pretty biggie deal, it's got to be Wendy's. That's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Hope you are well. Hanging on in there on a Tuesday. Guys, more people texting in the Nicolay Law talk and text line about that last Brewers topic. Frelick needs to be in the top 3 of the batting order, says the 715. He's not going to get done hitting 6th, 7th, or 8th. Murphy needs to have him hitting behind Terang. I said the exact opposite yesterday. I said Frelick should just be leading off and let Contreras be his number 2 hitter, let Terang be the number 3 hitter, and go from there. That's what I would do. Give him some a different look. Let him be the first batter, take some pressure off a little bit as far as normally leadoff hitters take more pitches, see more pitches for everybody behind him. That's normally how this works. But then a legitimate guy behind him protect him, because right now in this lineup, once we get past Frelick, it's nothing. So there's literally no fear of not pitching to Sal Frelick. This actually would help to get him going, I think, for the most part. It's kind of like, I'm going to go old school, but when J.J. Hardy was here and J.J. Hardy was batting up at the top of the lineup, he loved it because he was feasting, because he had Braun and Fielder behind him, right? And was killing it. When they moved Hardy to the bottom of the lineup, then he got verbally upset at everybody and hated being at the bottom of the lineup because he wasn't seeing the same pitches. It kind of changes everything. And those people that will tell you, wow, there's no such thing as protection in baseball, they're full of crap. There absolutely is. Pitchers will handle you differently, especially if there's runners on base and so forth. If you've got boppers behind you versus if you're the 8th guy in the lineup with a 9 guy behind you, they're not going to face you the same way. They're going to be far more aggressive.
I guess. But also, in my mind, Sal Frelick has to then prove he can be a more prolific hitter to get to that point. Like J.J. Hardy at some point in his career with the Brewers proved that he could be a prolific hitter, and they got to the top of the lineup, and looking at his Baseball Reference now, it hit 26, 24 homers back-to-back seasons. Like Sal Frelick has to get to that point where it makes sense to put you at the top of the lineup, not just because you need protection, but because you are a good hitter too overall. And I know last season you saw this peak for Sal Frelick a little bit, or at least start to head towards that peak in some people's eyes. At the same time, it was just a lot of what we've seen before at a higher volume. We need to see a next step like we've seen with Bryce Terang almost.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's what you're looking for, is that next step. I just think you're in a better position. Like I said, if you've got real guys behind you,
for now,
there's not as much pressure on you necessarily at that point. Change gears. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers obviously stepping aside for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I have an email here from earlier today from our guy, Jimmy Shapiro. And Jimmy Shapiro is with, one of those websites that want to get their name out there and so forth. And he sent over Bucks coaching odds as far as how they have it on their website, which is betonline.ag or whatever. Milwaukee Bucks next head coach. The question is this: who do you want to replace Doc Rivers with? Taylor Jenkins, former Grizzlies head coach, 3-1. Former Milwaukee Buck, Sam Cassell, longtime assistant, never has gotten an opportunity, somebody that I've lobbied for forever to give a shot to, 4-1. Sean Sweeney, Jason Kidd's right-hand guy, who is in Milwaukee, now in Dallas, and I forgot where Sweeney is now. I don't think he's in Dallas anymore. I think Sweeney's somewhere else.
Think so.
Sweeney, 5-1 odds. Tom Thibodeau, 6-1. Darvin Ham, sitting on that bench with Doc Rivers, 8-1. And remember, Darvin Ham was with Budenholzer as well.
Sweeney is currently the associate head coach for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yes, that's where he is. Correct. I knew he wasn't in Dallas. Chris Quinn, 10-1. Chris Quinn, the longtime Miami Heat guard that they've interviewed previously and never hired. Mike Nori, 12-1. Mike Budenholzer, 14-1. Bringing back Bud. Royal Ivy, cheese, as they like to call him. He is 16-1, former Bucks guard there as well. Jeff Van Gundy. Now this year, again, this is what I said before with Eric Name yesterday. They are not going to pay Jeff Van Gundy money if they don't know what Giannis is doing. If Giannis is coming back, maybe. And even then, you're going to go to Giannis and be like, do you really want to deal with Jeff Van Gundy? Do you want to go through the Van Gundy experience? It's your decision. So I don't think that's realistic. Dave Yeager, who's sitting on the bench with Doc Rivers, 25-1. Frank Vogel, former Lakers coach, 25-1. Johnny Bryant, 25-1. Former Bucks head coach, former Bucks assistant coach, Terry Stotts, 25-1. Rajon Rondo on that Doc Rivers bench, 33-1. Becky Hammond, 40-1. Lindsey Harding, 40-1. Mark Jackson, 40-1. Adrian Griffin, 50-1 on these odds of who will be the next Milwaukee Bucks head coach to replace Doc Rivers. Who do you want? Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Streaming live on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Also, can go to the website to stream us there too, wisportsradio.com. Find all your favorite shows and podcasts, all of that stuff there too. Patrick Atosa from the 414. Sean Sweeney is my dark horse candidate, says Patrick Atosa. Now, remember, Sean Sweeney's strength is defense. He's a defensive coach. That's what he did for Kidd. That's what he's doing in San Antonio. That's what he did here and in Dallas. So that's it. So if he's going to be the guy, he's going to have to bring an offensive guy with him. The Bud coaching tree, however, Budenholzer's coaching tree, that's something else now. I mean, Charles Lee is killing it right now with the Hornets. And you start talking about the number one guy on this list as well, and Taylor Jenkins. He was pretty damn good in Memphis there for a minute. Good few years. That was a young up-and-coming team.
Jaren Jackson Jr. was a defensive player of the year under Taylor Jenkins.
Yes, they were, again, I hated playing against them because I thought they were a bunch of punks there for a while with Dylan Brooks. But, I mean, they were playing well. And they got beset by injuries, and they were never the same. John Morant went sideways on them. And that was the end of it, and it didn't work out, and now he's out. But Taylor Jenkins is a guy that was under Bud. Darvin Ham is another guy, but again, he's here now. I can't imagine they're going with anybody that's here now. So I don't think that's necessarily the guy either. I have told people a conspiracy theory that I've had for quite some time. I have no facts. I have no intel. I'm just being straight. Just conspiracy theory Sparky on this one. If they decided to go to a rebuild, why not Tom Crean? Why not? Tom Crean knows this roster. He's been doing their postgame all year. Not Steve Novak. No. They brought in a coach in Tom Crean to do it remotely and watched all the games. And I would not be surprised if owners are picking Tom Crean's brain as far as what he thinks, what he would do, and so forth. This is very similar, except more blunt, than Doc Rivers was. Oh, Doc, come in and be a consultant and tell us what you think. And then, boom, he's the head coach. Tom, come do the post-game show. You know, it'll be fun. It'll get you into TV. Sounds good. Tom Crean is on none of these lists. I look at college lists all the time. I look at pro lists all the time. Tom Crean is not connected to any of this. Tom Crean is too damn young to retire and go away. Like, there's no way I believe that man is not going to coach anymore. Like, it just, to me, it makes no sense at all. He is part of the Harbaugh family. He is married to Joni, who is Jim and John's sister. That family bleeds coaching. That's all they know. That's all they do. And they're obsessive about it. You're telling me he's just going to walk away and go, yeah, it's been fun. See you later. No way. Nope. Don't buy it. So that would be an avenue I think could be had if you went the way of rebuild, knowing Giannis is out. Then if they went that way, I'd be like, okay, makes sense. I wouldn't want to pay him a ton of money. I'm sure he's not going to do it for cheap, but that would make sense. You got a coach that coached college kids, spent watching a year with a pro game, understanding the nuances of how they run offenses and defense in this league, understanding opposing defenses and how guys operate, seeing and studying some of the opposing head coaches. Like, he, to me, about as prepared as you could be. You got a year to study the NBA and then walk in, and then, you got to figure out the nuances of dealing with a pro player and running practices and that type of stuff. But as far as knowing the personnel of other teams and what they do and what they don't, Tom Crean is a guy that back in the day would be at a bar table, at a bar, right? And he would be drawing on a napkin a play that maybe he saw on TV while talking to somebody and then wanting to run it at a Marquette practice. Always, like 24/7. That's all he thinks about is that. Now, maybe he's changed since the last time we've talked. It's been a long time because you don't necessarily get along or like each other.
Of course.
But that's okay. But that's fine. I'm just being straight as far as he would make sense if it's a rebuild. Even though we don't like, he would make sense. Like, I would be okay with that hire. However, I got one here from the 414. Tom Crean is 60. So what?
Well, and Tom Crean also, fun fact, has spent 2 years in pro basketball. Last year, he was part of the Timberwolves pre- and post-game show.
Yes. So he's had multiple
I don't know
years.
if that helps or hurts your theory.
No,
but
I think it helps it because, again, it's 2 years. You're not doing post games here if you don't have interest in coaching here. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
unless he likes doing the pre and post games.
Right. Now, again,
I mean, that's what I would like with 2 years in it now instead of just 1 year.
no, look, this is the other thing about this. I don't know if you believe in this or not, but I've heard it said a lot, right? So you could have two 65-year-olds standing next to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, that's an old 65, and that's a young 65. Yeah. Tom Crean is a young 60. Tom Crean is not an old 60. That dude is a young 60 and looking just fine and looking in good shape and all that. He can easily continue coaching for another 5 to 10 years. Without question, he could do it. Calipari's still going strong, doing his thing over there. Patino is still coaching. Patino's getting old. I mean, you can see the aging process on that cat. And he's still winning.
Coached until he couldn't coach anymore.
I firmly believe that's going to be Crean. So, to me, that's why. 414, Taylor Jenkins all the way. Taylor Jenkins makes sense if you have Giannis to a degree. And Taylor Jenkins could make sense if it's a rebuild. But if we're being honest, you're going to have to pay him significant money, and it's going to have to be a long contract, like 5 years, fully guaranteed all the way to give him a chance to coach the rebuild where there's no pressure the first 2 years to win anything. Like, there should be no pressure to win. Like, it's just develop. And then by year 3 or 4, especially if you don't have a first-round pick next season. So you have to give whoever it is time if it's going to be a rebuild. Charlie, who's your guy?
When I look at the list, so I have a little bit of a different list that I found as well. This is from Sporting News. Steph No. Tom Thibodeau is the number 1 answer. Becky Hammon is her number 2. This is overall best NBA head coach candidates. I go a little farther down the list. Like, I really want to give Rajon Rondo a chance. And I think
I'd be very intrigued by that.
I would be too. But like you said before, I don't think they're willing to give an opportunity right now to guys that are already currently on this coaching staff. That's a Doc Rivers guy. You're moving on from Doc Rivers now. You may kind of want to restart that. But if you're going to be at least considering a Darvin Ham in the situation, you got to consider a Rajon Rondo.
What if Rondo said, hey, man, I want this job, and I'll bring KG and Pierce to be on my staff?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure. 100%, dude. Let's do it.
That if you're Wesley Edens, you go, all right, I'm in.
Like KG for like Pierce, take it or leave it. Like if he really wants Pierce on the staff, fine, but KG would be cool on the
listen,
staff.
I agree. I don't agree with half of what Paul Pierce says, most of what Paul Pierce says, but he has to have knowledge enough to teach the game and coach the game and be a part of it. We know KG could coach. He worked with Giannis. I know that works. I'm positive. And what are you going to get from KG? You're going to get that dog, play hard all the time, work mentality. They did not have that this year. They were missing that this year with the vets.
A bunch of guys that I think would take cheaper deals to be first-time coaches in whatever situation they're in. Like that's going to be one of the least expensive.
It's their guy.
Exactly. He's already in the building. Just give him a pay raise. Like that would be the easiest option in my mind, and something that I think the Bucks, instead of looking at some of these veteran coaches who are going to be looking for bigger contracts, who you are going to give up on probably a little bit faster than these young coaches, unless Rajon Rondo has like the worst start to his career, like Steve Nash did.
Right.
And even he got like a longer chance than I think people expected him to.
Nash got off the court and started coaching.
Right. Like give Rondo a shot, man. It'll be cheap and it'll be a guy that can change the culture if you give him the right guys around.
He's Charlie Hughes at C-Sparky Pfeiffer with you. I will tell you who my coach is coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Who would you want to see replace Doc Rivers? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Streaming live on WI Sports Radio on X and on YouTube. Come hang out. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky, 5 for Charlie. Use it over there. Talking about Doc Rivers. Who do you want to see replace Doc Rivers? Nicolay talk and text line rolling along at 414-677-1250. 414, I'll take Miami Heat's assistant coach, that of course being Chris Quinn. For the 414, if Giannis stays, Micah Nori would be the pick as the coach. Okay, how about this? Micah Nori, for those of you that don't know, was with Jay Triano and Dwayne Casey in Toronto before going to the Kings in 2013. He was rolling with Michael Malone back in the day, then rode with Malone to the Nuggets in 2015, and there was there with them when the Joker was there as well. Then on that staff, he bonded with Chris Finch, who was an assistant on that staff. And then when Finch got the T-Wolves job, he went with Finch to Minnesota and has been there ever since. Finch says he's like his bench coach. He's his right-hand guy. So that would be a guy that's not had that head coaching job yet, but is looking for that head coaching job. And his background, Sean Sweeney's background is defense. This dude's background is offense.
Sure. Again, as long as it's like, I want a guy who hasn't had that experience yet. Give him a shot. Give somebody a shot. This is a team that's going to go like full restart here. You're going to have a pretty high pick, hopefully, when the draft lottery comes around. Give somebody a shot. Don't retread somebody that's just going to get fired after 2 years because they're not living up to expectations.
Absolutely. Right. No question about it. All right. I want to get something else up. I want Tom Thibodeau.
Right after I say that.
I want Tom Thibodeau. And the reason I want Tom Thibodeau is relatively easy to understand. If Eric Name is right, Athletic Bucks beat writer, in which it doesn't matter if Giannis makes his decision or not. They just got to hire a coach. If that's how they're going to play this, and that's how they're going to move forward, then you need a guy that can coach either when given to him. And is okay. Now, I don't know if Thibodeau would be fine with a young roster and a rebuild. He's older. He may be like, no, I'll coach a team that's ready to take that next step. I'm in. I don't want to coach a rebuild. Where Taylor Jenkins might be fine with it. Like, I did it in Memphis. I'll do it here. Fine. Whatever. I like Milwaukee. Could be. I like Tom Thibodeau for a veteran team with Giannis to go try and win a championship. I like that idea because he's going to get everything out of his guys. His teams play hard. They will run through a wall for Tibbs, especially the first couple of years. Is there a burnout factor? Absolutely, there's a burnout factor. But for the first 2 or 3 years, and that's what we're talking about here, keeping Giannis happy, you're going to compete. You're going to be a playoff team. You're not going to have garbage seasons like you have this year with Thibodeau. And let's see what happens. If you're like, hey, Giannis is going, and we're going to get Tyler Hero back, and we're going to get all these guys back, some veteran players to go along with some draft picks, and we think we've got Ryan Rollins, and we like Jang, and Cormac Ryan showed us something, and AJ Green did all these threes. We might be able to be competitive and maybe be in the play-in tournament that first year, and we need somebody that can get us there and continue to develop these young guys. Then, maybe Tibbs can be sold on that. But Tibbs is going to get anybody who plays for him to play hard, they're going to play smart, and they're going to go. So for me, if I'm looking for somebody, regardless of what the roster looks like, somebody that can just flat out coach and motivate, Tom Thibodeau is my guy. Coming up next, let's talk more about the crew. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Time now for your fan weather forecast brought to you by Integrity Exteriors. 79 degrees right now, the real feel of 82. Severe weather coming up in the area tonight. It looks like potentially around 7 p.m.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It is time again. How y'all doing here on a Tuesday? Hope you are well. We are broadcasting live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Charlie Usen producing today's show. Guest free today. Still to come, we'll get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day coming up at 3:40. Green and Gold update heads your way coming up at 4 o'clock. And then things Sparky missed coming up at 4:40, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. But it is 3 o'clock.
It's time to talk about the crew. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, let's get to some Brewers talk. Getting the start tonight is Jacob Mizorowski for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll have the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz coming up at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30, the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz. Greg Jones, who was brought up from AAA Nashville, the 28-year-old outfielder, is expected to talk prior to the game. I think right around this time, actually. I think he might be talking right now to the media. So we'll have that for you coming up on tonight's show. There's a possibility that Christian Yelich might talk, not confirmed yet. He might talk as well. So we'll have that for you on the show. We'll hear from Pat Murphy, his pregame presser coming up tonight as well. 90-minute leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz again from 5 until 6:30 this evening. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers also announced what the rotation is going to be after today. Chad Patrick gets the start tomorrow. Brandon Sproat back into the rotation. He'll get the start on Thursday, Charlie.
All right. Give the kid a shot again, man. I know he's struggled in the first couple of times he's hit the mound, but you have nothing to lose at this point. Like we talked about earlier, you have a ton of injuries on this roster. The rest of the NL Central, like I just don't really believe in any of those teams fully right now. You got some time to bounce back here. Give some young cats a shot.
I got a text message here from Ziggy, who texts in all the time in the Nicolay Law Talking text line. Heading west of Madison to chase tornadoes back to the Milwaukee area. Tell everyone to be safe and have a way to get warnings.
Chasing tornadoes, Ziggy. That's awesome.
You think?
I don't think I'd do it. That's cool. He's doing it.
No chance I'm doing it. Nope. I'll be scared to death in my basement tonight. Hoping we're all safe. So yeah, everybody be safe. Southeastern Wisconsin looks like setting up for potential tornadoes later tonight. If you are listening on the Fan in Southeastern Wisconsin, but if you're listening down here, you're well aware of this because they've been talking about this since yesterday. So that's kind of how it goes. Okay, so other things concerning the Milwaukee Brewers. Besides that, is the idea that this team is riding a 5-game losing streak coming into this contest here tonight. Is it a situation in April when you start talking about, is it kind of a must-win game at this point? I'm not there. And I know some of you probably are. Like, the sooner we get this losing streak over, the better it is for everybody involved, right? Get that mojo going back and so forth. Get it going back in the right direction again. I think that's obviously all important. I think for me tonight, looking at this Brewers game, there's a couple things that I want. One, I want an air-free game. That's the first thing I want. I'd like a mistake-free game. Like if you're going to lose it 4-3, 3-2, but you don't make any dumb decisions on the field and you field your position and you do things the correct way, I think I'm okay with that. All right. Number 2, I would like better approaches at the plate tonight from all involved. Not going to single out anybody, just all involved. Like stop swinging pitches out of the zone, something that just irritates Pat Murphy to no end. Like if you're going to strike out and swing at pitches in the zone, striking out, okay, I think he's fine. Swinging at pitches out of the zone that you got no chance for, that irritates him. That's how you end up getting set. That's how Joey Ortiz got set last summer for 2 games, because his approach at the plate was not consistent with what the Brewers asked their hitters to do. So I think that is the other part of it. Like if you're going to lose, okay, but let's not shoot ourselves in the foot with dumb fielding decisions, and let's have smart approaches at the plate. We can do that. I think overall, I'm okay if you end up losing that game tonight if you do everything else. Because Mizorowski, you would think, is going to give you a chance to win this game tonight.
I think he will, but I also think I'm still looking for him to have another good outing and just go out there and again keep proving that you're the ace of this rotation. Because I think there's a lot of guys who have or could have claim to that. Brandon Woodruff keeps playing as well as he has, and he can stick out through the season, because we heard in that last start that he just got tired and was just done at the end of that start that he had. That's a little worrisome moving forward, but if he can keep pitching well, he can move back into the spot. I want Jacob Mizorowski, with the rest of the team struggling in the areas that they're struggling in right now, to continue to be that constant for this team. For a guy that can be so wild, a guy that goes out there and plays with so much emotion, for him to be the constant so far is kind of out there. But at the same time, I know he can do it, and I just want him to go out there and do it again against a Blue Jays lineup that's kind of like this Brewers lineup, trying to just figure it out. And that can be a lineup that can really get on you if you allow them to, especially for a guy like Mizorowski. Go out there and prove that you still got it no matter what.
I agree with you on that. Some other news on the Milwaukee Brewers that came out last night concerning their minor leagues, because we know that I love talking about their minor leagues as much as Tommy Wirtz loves talking about it on the leadoff show every night. And that is MLB Pipeline. You know, as you get going here and your top prospects end up getting so many at-bats or so many games at the major league level, they essentially graduate off of the prospect list, and then you add a player to the top players at that position, or guys get added into the top 100. Everybody moves up a spot or whatever the case may be. Well, with Sal Stewart of the Reds graduating, we get to see Blake Burke get moved into the top 10 first baseman in Major League Baseball as a top 10 prospect after his hot start at this point. So, and you look at this, you got Bryce Eldridge as 1. We all know who he is. Charlie Condon's a stud. He's with the Rockies. He's 2. Ralphie Velasquez, a target day of 27, is 3. Ryan Clifford of the Mets is 4. Cam Collier, 2027, he's 5th. Jonathan Long of the Cubs, how good is he?
Not that good.
Okay, that makes me feel good. He's 6th. Luke Adams of the Brewers is 7th. He's struggling at Nashville right now. Xavier Isaac of the Rays is 8th. Trey Morgan of the Rays is 9th. Isaac 2027 estimated time. Trey Morgan this year. And then Blake Burke is number 10 on this list. That is another situation. You were talking earlier about, would you rather have had somebody other than Greg Jones get called up? And Charlie said, hey, I'd rather have had Cooper Pratt. I don't care what he's doing in Nashville and not hitting. Bring him up, let Monday come up and see if he can hit AAA pitching. If he can, now you can potentially maybe move him up here by the end of the year if he can prove he can hit AAA. At the same point, I think right now you can look at AA and AAA and say, hey, maybe we have a switch here at some point if Luke Adams doesn't get going at some point, because he just got moved up to AAA this year, first time going. You got Burke down there at AA. If Burke continues to hit well, Adams struggles, you might play switcheroo at some point this season and see if Burke can potentially work his way up.
Well, and Burke's not just hitting well,
power.
He's hitting phenomenally. Like, he's one of the best power hitters in minor league baseball right now. It's been really fun to see the highlights that come out of Biloxi from a player like that, especially when you have so much other talent around him. For him to stand out that well, that's really cool to see. And Luke Adams, is a guy that, again, just give him a little time first. As excited as we are about Burke, I want to see Luke Adams too, because he's still on that list. He's still above Burke in that list. Give him his time to just grow a little bit. He just got it moved up to Nashville. Maybe we could see both of them at Nashville at some point if a lot of these guys keep struggling the way they are.
That's the other thing, too. And we got to remember, it's like don't overreact for the Brewers roster at this point because it's only April. You've got to continue to remind yourself, do not overreact on the minor leagues and these prospects who may be struggling at this point, like Cooper Pratt, like Jet Williams, like Luke Adams, and these guys down at AAA, to remind yourself of, look, not everybody's going to get off to a hot start necessarily all the time. Some guys, it takes a little while to get accustomed, and then once they do, they go. Jackson Chourio was a prime example of that when he was coming up through the minor leagues. Every time he got promoted during the season, he was a struggle bus. And then he came back the next year and tore that league up, and then would get moved, struggle bus in the last half of the year, get moved, and then come back the next year at that same level and tear it up. That was the Chourio pattern as we went along through the minor league system. So we'll see how long it takes these guys to get going. I mean, Jet Williams, he was at this level, was he not? I'm pretty sure he was at this level last year. So you would think here at some point he gets going too. So a couple of things there to talk about concerning the Brewers. 414 on the Nicolay Law Talking text line. Stephen Germantown, Corbin Burns stunk his first full season. We can't be nuking the bullpen every game. Just let Sproat pitch. I agree. They're going to have to let Sproat pitch at this point. And there's a great piece today in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel talking about Aaron Ashby and using his arm up, which Tim Dillard and I just talked about yesterday on this show, and being careful not to essentially get this guy hurt. What allows them to use his arm as much as they do? Some guys' arms are okay doing this. Other guys' arms take a longer time to recover. See Josh Hader, not able to do what Aaron Ashby is doing because his arm took longer to rebound. So not every pitcher can do what Ashby is doing. And then the other part of this is it really takes him out of the chance to be in the starting rotation at this point, Charlie, because you don't have anybody else to do what he can do, I don't think, not that I'm aware of, in that bullpen. So as well as he pitches in that role, he's essentially boxing himself out from getting in the rotation.
Not right now. You don't have people that can do that. I think this is kind of a situation where, like, when we talk about Bryce Strang maybe moving a little lower in the lineup in order to help back up some of these guys that aren't hitting as well because Yelich is out now. I think that's kind of where we're at with Ashby, and he was in that role already, but at the same time, when this bullpen is healthy, you do have a Robert Gasser that I think could potentially do that for you. DL Hall, I know, hasn't really shown it this season, but I think as long as you keep giving him those opportunities, again, he could potentially do that. Jared Koenig is a guy in the past that has showed he could be a long reliever if needed to in that position, but he's on the 15-day IL right now. So you need to get this group a little healthier. You brought up the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel piece, but Jack Stern on Brewer Fanatic also put out a piece just talking about the entire bullpen and why it already looks so depleted, and the usage rate of the group just in general is a really great piece. Go check it out again on Brewer Fanatic. But it's not just Ashby. It's everybody in this group right now. So again, keep giving Sproat these chances to try and figure it out. I know that some of these games he ends up coming out a little bit early, but this could be the game where he breaks out a little bit for this team.
Yeah, potentially that could be it. I was just seeing there is a mock trade up for the Brewers already, boy. You writers really don't waste any time pushing material out there as soon as normally possible, or as humanly possible at this point. Right away, the title of the article is Brewers Astros mock trade to quickly replace injured Christian Yelich. And this one is for Isaac Paredes of the Houston Astros. They suggest Robert Gasser and Garrett Mitchell, to which I say no.
No, I don't know. Especially since the Astros are so needy at both those positions right now.
Yes,
their pitching is just atrocious.
They need a left-handed bat.
And they need a left-handed bat. I feel like you just be giving too much for a guy that I guess the Astros don't need as much. Like they could pay a little less for a guy like Isaac Paredes.
And that's the part of this that we talked about earlier. If you're going to make a move, it's got to be for somebody that is a veteran, that is a more of a short-term rental. You do not want to trade for anybody on any type of long-term deal with any type of significant money attached to it, Charlie.
No, you don't. And I think if this Brewers team, again, is thinking about going for a guy that's more long-term, you have plenty of pieces in your minor leagues to just give a shot to then who are already long-term, already in your system, and guys that you are probably going to give chances to next season anyways.
That's correct. And Paredes right now is on a 1-year, $9.35 million contract. So that's nothing.
Nothing.
That's nothing.
It would be the type of guy you'd want, but you can get him for cheaper than that.
Correct. And if you look at Paredes in general and look at his contract, if they were to do this, there is a club option for 27 at $13.35 million in 27. And then he hits free agency in 28 at age 29. So if you get to the end of 26 and you're like, Fisher's not ready. Day's not ready. We don't have an answer at third base yet necessarily. Maybe we potentially bring him back at $13 million and see what he does. But in order to bring him back at $13 million, he's got to have a pretty damn good offensive season. Right now, he's hitting like 250, doesn't have any home runs to this point.
Yeah,
so he's not
RBIs.
exactly putting up all-star numbers. But into his defense, Houston in general is not playing well.
No, not really. Like everybody on that team is just struggling at this moment. He just has a 694 OPS and pretty negative defense too throughout his career. It's just not worth it.
Correct. Coming up next, we switch gears back to the Milwaukee Bucks. Bobby Portis, who's been on that Run It Back show all year long, with thoughts on what he thinks will get Giannis to stay in Milwaukee. I don't know if it's going to surprise you, but it definitely surprised me. We'll talk about that coming up next. Bring your cravings. Wendy's will bring the rewards. Download the Wendy's app today and start earning rewards. Wendy's rewards are fast, free, and full of flavor. Get 200 bonus reward points and a free 10-piece nuggets just for signing up. Earn points on every order and trade them for fries, burgers, and more. Earn free eats faster than you can say fresh, never frozen. Loyalty has never tasted so good. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. Now, see, this is good music right here. Eric Church, little Eric Church. Yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah,
It's all right.
It's all right. He says it's all right.
You don't let me pick anything. You didn't say I could contribute, so I would have put some bangers in there.
Oh, you totally could have contributed.
You yelled when I asked. You said nope. It's listeners only.
Okay, I'll tell you what. So we're gonna do this again here at the end of the month, right? So in the next couple of weeks, we'll do this again, where listeners can participate and nominate new bumper music for the month of May and stuff. So we'll take new songs. If you don't like what you're hearing, be like, God, these are awful. Well, you could contribute yours, and we'll put together a new list of bumpers. Right. And I will let Charlie. How many should you contribute, and how many should I contribute?
3 each. I think
3 each
or 2 each. 2 each.
You get 2, I get 2, and then the listeners each get 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fine. All right. So there you go. See, we negotiate on the radio, so we're all held. Everybody is held accountable. This is all on the record. No, he said, she said, finger pointing off the air. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's all we're good on this. Fine. Right. Very good. Okay. So Bobby Portis was on Run It Back. And Run It Back is Michelle Beadle. And who else is on there?
Chandler
Lou Williams.
Parsons and Lou Will. Yeah.
I always try and forget as much as I humanly can forget about Chandler Parsons. I always do. Lou Williams, I remember. Michelle Beadle, I remember. Because I really don't like anything Chandler Parsons ever says.
He doesn't really add anything of like extra juice to what they say. Like Lou will say some controversial things. Michelle Beadle is always kind of just entertaining in general. And Chandler Parsons is just kind of like, man. He says a lot of
To a certain degree. Yeah, I think that's correct. Bobby Portis has been a weekly guest with them all throughout the NBA season. And Bobby Portis is always entertaining no matter who he's talking to at the end of the day. Check this out. Bobby Portis talking about what will have to happen to get Giannis to stay in Milwaukee and sign that Supermax extension.
To be honest, like I don't really know like the direction for real. Like to be honest, it's more so are they gonna work with him to find a new coach? If they working with him to find a new coach, then I would say he stays. You know what I'm saying? If they not working with him to find a new coach, then obviously I think, it's the other way around. So I think we'll just find out here soon. Like nothing's a secret in the NBA, obviously. Whether it's a secret meeting or whatever it is, somehow, some way, somebody gonna find out and report something. So like I said, I think over the next month or so, once the draft lottery happens and, those lottery balls get slotted up on which pick people have, and, it'll get geared back up here soon for sure. Mm-hmm.
The question is simple. Do you agree with Bobby Portis that the only thing holding back Giannis is potentially the head coach that he would like to run this thing going forward? That if they get the correct head coach, Bobby thinks Giannis is back. He thinks he's in. If he buys into what the head coach is selling and he's all in on the head coach, then that might be enough to get him to sign the extension. Do you agree with Bobby Portis or do you disagree with Bobby Portis? Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Streaming live on X and YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Don't forget, go back, check out X. We have all kinds of different shorts from all the different shows. The Tim Dillard short was up there yesterday. That was blowing up and having a lot of fun. It does every week, every time we put the Tim Dillard short up, because he's so good about talking about Brewers baseball. But do you agree that the only thing holding back Giannis is potentially the correct head coach and letting him have some say, even though Giannis will tell you, hey, I have no say in any of this stuff. They ask me my opinion, I tell them, but I'm like not asking for anybody to be fired or anybody to be traded. They ask my opinion, I tell them. That's all I do. I don't do anything else. I don't have say. Okay. Anyhow, I don't agree. I mean, do I hope he's right? I hope he's right. Like, this would be the easiest thing in the world.
Right? That's pretty simple.
If Giannis goes to Enid's goes, tell you what, man, you let me pick the coach. I'll sign your Supermax. I'll shut down my agents for the summer. We'll shut down Sharania from saying anything, and we'll call it a day. But I get to pick my guy. What if his guy is the coach in Greece? What if his guy is his national coach in Greece? What if he says, I want my guy to run the Bucks? If he says it, what say you?
Yes, sure. Like that, Giannis, it's Giannis. Like, it doesn't matter. He's one of the greatest players of all time. And you bring in his coach from Greece, like, even if it doesn't work out that well, that's like a crazy thing that puts eyes on your team again.
Right.
And I think that's something that's good from an ownership standpoint when you're just trying to stay alive right now. Like, you know, if Giannis leaves the Milwaukee Bucks, that there's going to be a lot of changes financially for you as an owner. So finding any way to A, keep Giannis around, and B, build any other kind of media attraction towards your team, you should take that, if I'm being honest.
I would 1,000% let Giannis pick the coach to keep Giannis here. I would do it in a heartbeat. And you could be screaming at your radio or screaming at your Google speaker or however you're listening, screaming at your phone if you're streaming us, and saying, Sparky, you're nuts. No one player should ever have that much control over an organization. This is how we got to this point. You're nuts. My response? Yeah. But my second response is, because I'm scared. Scared. I'm scared that we're going to suck for 20 years after this dude walks out the door. That's what I'm scared of. I'm scared that I'm going to relive watching this team like I did for the 20 years prior to Giannis getting here. I don't want to watch that crap again. I have no interest in watching that crap again. I just don't. I'm just being serious. I don't want to watch it again. Charlie's young, 20 years. You'll be in your late 40s when they win a championship. Yeah, he's got plenty of time. I'll be like around 70 and probably won't even remember that we have a team in Milwaukee playing in the NBA. So it ain't going to matter to me at all. Right. So, I mean, come on. So, for me, I want Giannis to stay as long as possible. Now, to clarify, you will never, ever catch me at a game giving googly eyes to Giannis like Josh Albrecht and Mitch Nellis did the other night. Like, there is no chance. We love Giannis with the side. Yeah, right there. That goofy side. There is zero chance I'm doing that for any player in any walk of life ever. It's never happening. I give them credit, though. They got a chat started. Like, they did the whole thing. And Giannis was smiling at him like, those are my guys. I love those two. Like, okay, fine. It was fun. There's no chance I'm doing that. But if I'm that organization, you know times are going to be rough. And not only times are going to be rough for you, times are going to be rough for everybody else down there in that Deer District if people stop coming to Bucks games. Because those are nights where you were guaranteeing yourself 15,000 people pretty much every night, right? When things were going right. Now, all of a sudden, that number becomes 8,000. That's a lot of people. When you take that and average that over the course of a year, that's a lot of people to lose at the end of the day. And if those people stop coming, what does that also mean? People probably aren't buying your merchandise anymore. People aren't buying all of this stuff. I was talking to my guy, IT Ed, today, our IT guy here. He went to a blood drive this last weekend. They gave him free Bucks tickets for next year for going to the blood drive. I'm like, oh, we'll send you Bucks tickets. He's like, what? He goes, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, you give your blood, we'll give you Bucks tickets. He's like, no, sweet. Okay, I was just coming to give blood. I didn't know I was going to get Bucks tickets for it, but okay, sure, sounds good. So that is the type of stuff that you're going to have to get back to doing again, to where you're going to be on StubHub looking at ticket prices, and they're going to be like $2 for an upper deck seat, and you're going to be paying $40 for parking. That's not going to make anybody mad. But that's essentially what's going to happen. And I don't want to go there any sooner than I have to go there. Am I sick of talking about Giannis? 1,000,000%. Last night at my kid's baseball practice, coach comes up to me. He's like, so what you think about Giannis? I was like, dude, I don't know, man. I'm sick of talking about it. Like, I'm done. You know what he said? He went all the way back to moving out from Drew Holiday for Dame Lillard. And said,
that's where a lot of people are going.
That was the mistake. Mm-hmm. And then I went back and said, look, man, they did it because Giannis couldn't stay healthy in the postseason. They needed more of a premier scorer. His response was, I think Holiday could have scored too. They let him. He could have scored. He could have been that guy. So fine.
He had a couple opportunities and he didn't, though.
Regardless. So you have those group of people that are still mad about how that whole thing went down. You've got others that are mad that they moved on from Middleton too soon. You've got Brook Lopez people out there that love Brook and didn't want to see Brook go, right? So you have all these factions of people that are mad. And Bobby Portis simply says, if they let him get his coach, he's back. Well, damn. Wes Edens, if it's that simple and you tell him no, that you're going to pick the coach and he's the player, then you might as well not even return the phone call or even bother. Just trade him and move on. Like, just keep it real. You have no interest in bringing him back and you want to get rid of him. That's fine. If that's where the relationship is and you're done with it, then go ahead, do your thing. You're the owner. You'll get ripped by everybody in Wisconsin, but go ahead, do what you got to do. But if it's that simple, I don't care who he picks, Charlie. I don't care. He could pick a high school coach in Appleton, in Wausau, in Superior. I don't care who he picks. You think he's good enough to coach? You're going to play hard for him? You're going to support him in the locker room? Yep. He's our guy. Get a press conference. Let's bring him in. See how he sounds in front of a microphone and a bunch of media. It does not matter to me whatsoever. I just don't think it's that easy. I think it's more along the lines of Giannis saying, I need at least one superstar with me, and I probably need at least another fringe all-star with me, and then y'all can do with whatever you want with the rest of the roster. But right now, as we sit here today, I don't have a fringe all-star, and I don't have a superstar, and I need both. And you can argue Miles Turner might be a fringe all-star with Giannis when Giannis is on the floor. And maybe Giannis would accept that and say, okay, fine, but I need a superstar. That you cannot argue. You do not have one. Now, how you go about getting one, and if that is even possible, we'll see, because I'm not convinced that it's even possible at this point. But that might be more of what he wants, more so than just hire a good coach and I'll roll back with these guys. Like, I don't see that happening.
No. And I think when you're talking about Miles Turner, he had statistically his worst season since his rookie season.
It's awful.
That was 10 years ago in his career. And probably in his rookie season, he played with more effort and more excitement, even though he scored less points and had less rebounds than he was playing with this season. So I don't even think you have that fringe all-star at this point, because he's just not proved that he can be that. You spent a lot of money on that. I would be happier if they moved on from that contract some way, somehow. I think you have to find still two other players that get you to that point of where you were in 2021. And I think that's extremely important to Giannis. I also think that, again, finding the way to keep helping him stay comfortable in Milwaukee, I think, is another thing, which they continue to do all the time. But as the ownership kind of slowly starts to change and Peter Fagan leaves the Bucks, those types of things also change. And you get a little bit colder to a guy that kind of has felt like he's holding you hostage as the Milwaukee Bucks a little bit here. I think there's a lot of other factors that drive into what will keep Giannis in Milwaukee other than just who is the head coach of this team. And in the 262 on the Nicolay Law Talking text line 446771250, the 262 says, I don't think that's what Bobby meant. I think he's more saying if they include him, that must mean they intend on keeping him around. Not if he gets to pick the coach, he'll stay. More like that it will be a positive sign if he is included. So he's talking about it more from the Bucks point of view, and he thinks Bobby was talking about it from the Bucks point of view more than Giannis. I didn't hear it that way.
With all due respect, they've included this dude on almost every damn thing they've done. And that is a joke, by the way, when he's talking to that Philly reporter, and the Philly reporter is like, oh, Doc Rivers stepped out. And Giannis is like, really? I'm shocked. I'll have to call him. There's video of him and Doc laughing and having a good old time. They lost the last game, arm in arm, laughing and walking off. What the conversation was about? No idea. Doesn't matter, whatever. But if you really think that, I think
wasn't talking about strategy, man.
Nobody on the Bucks team thought that Doc Rivers wasn't going to step down. Come on, man. I bet you everybody in that organization was just waiting to make it official at that point. It probably knew days, if not weeks ahead of time. 414 Sparky, your Giannis takes drive me nuts. Sorry. 1 week, get rid of him and rebuild. Now, do anything to keep him. He's eventually not going to be a Buck. So eventually, everything you're afraid of is going to happen anyway. So, yes, you're right. I am a roller coaster of emotions with this one. I am. Because he gets me mad. I'm like, the hell with it. Let's just go. Done. But if it's as simple as pick the head coach, he's here. Okay, fine. One thing I do not like and do not respect is playing both sides of the conversation, which is what he does. And that irritates the bejesus out of me. Like, it absolutely drives me nuts. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too on the way out. That's what it feels like. And maybe some people believe this stuff that comes out of his mouth. Maybe. I have no idea. But it drives me crazy. That's my thing. But you're right. 414. Yeah. I mean, roller coaster of emotions with this one. I do not want to see him leave. But at the same time, I'm sick of all the antics and everything else that goes along with it. Coming up next, Charlie Sounds of the Day. First, let me tell you about my friends over there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. The thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam. A buzzer-beating three. You know the feeling. There's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. The Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. Catch all the action. Supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks right there as you walk off after you park your garage. By the way, tonight, severe weather in southeastern Wisconsin. That would be a good place, right? That big parking garage. Have your car covered from any hail or anything else might fall on it.
I think you'd be pretty safe in there. Yeah.
I think I'd just park my car in there and wait.
Just hang out
and see what happens and roll on out. And hopefully nothing happens to the parking garage. But yeah, so you got that. You got unbelievable drinks, 48 beers on tap, a dozen different specialty cocktails, luxury seating, 2 levels, great food, full menu at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen, homemade desserts and pastries, all day brunch, great atmosphere, and a monster video wall, 2,000 square feet, over 30 sporting events at one time. Only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Reserve your seat ahead of time today or go check out their cool deals going on with Brewers home games. That's right. Shuttles to and from Brewers home games all season long. More info at Potawatomi.com. That's Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. I was asked a question in the break, and I've never heard the Brewers say this.
All right. What was the question?
What's tornado protocol if you're at a Brewers game?
I don't know. I mean, like, that's such a massive,
gigantic
built structure that I feel like it could probably withstand most weather events. At the same time, it's probably just go into the concourse area, like not be out on the field. Like that's what they did in like San Francisco when the earthquakes were happening.
I remember watching that on TV.
Or did they have them go down to the field and get away from the con? I think they had them go down.
Families on the field.
Yeah, families got to go down to the field, and everybody else had to go to the concourse. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I have no idea. Somebody asked me that, and I was like, I don't know what the tornado protocol is at American Family Field, if there is. And hopefully we'll never have to find that out.
Right.
Coming up next, Charlie Sounds of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen doing his thing over there. Don't forget our fine friends over there at Habish, and Rotier. If you are hurt in a car accident and you are looking for help and you don't know where to turn to my guys over there. National reputation, hometown service. National reputation, like we always talk about, that's awesome. That's cool, dude. That means they won a lot, and they're recognized all over the country for their big wins that they've had over the course of time, including record winnings in the state of Wisconsin. And that's awesome because that tells you how great they truly are. But the most important part of their motto of what they say is hometown service. That idea that they are approachable, that you can go to them and they will tell you, hey, man, your case is very, very important. We're going to do everything to help you get the most that we can for the trauma that you were involved in and put through at this point. And they'll help you kind of navigate through all the stuff that you have to go through. Because if you're hurt, you're talking hospitals, doctors, all that other stuff that goes through that. So you're going to want somebody that you can trust. These people are the ones that you can trust. 13 locations across the state of Wisconsin. If you're listening to the game in Wausau, they're there. In Appleton, Green Bay area on WNFL, they're there as well. All over southeastern Wisconsin, several locations, including Madison, Sheboygan, Lake Geneva, all over the place. Take advantage and get a hold of them today if you are in that situation right now. Habish.com for more information. Habish, and Rotier, national reputation, hometown service.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, there, Charlie Usen. Where are we going first?
Well, since we were just talking about Bucks, let's continue with that. This is Adam Shine on Shine Time from the New York Post, and he was discussing why he really does not like Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers is the most overrated coach in professional sports in North America in the last 40 years. And I can't think of a more overrated coach in the history of sports. Seriously. And I put that on Twitter last night. Tweet blows up. And before you say, well, hold on, Doc Rivers is not rated. Doc Rivers is going into the Hall of Fame. These dopes put him in the Hall of Fame because he has media friends. How could you look at Doc Rivers and say, that guy is a Hall of Famer? Go back to that board, guys. Look at his playoff record. 114 and 112. He is a classic compiler. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, how did Doc Rivers get the Milwaukee job and the Boston job and the Orlando job and the Clipper job and the Philly job in the first place? That is amateur hour. I mean, my goodness.
Okay. So first of all, not an Amsterdam guy. Never really have been. Having said that, I think a lot of people share his opinion. In fact, John Heyman, MLB insider, quote tweeted him on X and agreed with him. So when you win a championship, you're always going to have a job because you got a ring. Bud will always have a job if he wants one because he won a ring in Milwaukee. Regardless of what you think of him or what I think of him or what Charlie thinks of him, you win a championship, you will always have a job. No different than if you win a Super Bowl, or if you win a national championship in college sports, or if you win a World Series. You're going to have a job because you took a team to the mountaintop and won the damn thing. They're going to give you opportunities. Then you take that aspect of it and you add on that Doc Rivers can make anybody like him in one conversation. I don't care how much you don't like Doc. Yeah, I sit you down in a conversation with Doc Rivers. By the time you walk, you're like, that's a pretty cool dude, man. I like Doc. I was wrong, man. Like his reasoning and everything he says makes sense. I didn't know half the stuff he told me. He'll win you over. And winning the interview is everything. But you are a good interviewer and you got a championship on your hand and you're a former NBA player. Come on, man. That dude could coach till he's dead. He'll have a job at wherever he wants in the NBA. Somebody else will offer him a job probably for next year if Doc decides he wants to coach next year, which I don't think he will. But if he wanted to coach, somebody else would give him the opportunity to come coach their team. Charlie, where are we going next?
All right, next up, we're going to head on over to Philadelphia, where Howie Roseman was speaking with the media today about a lot of things.
Eagles GM.
But one of the things he talked about was why they traded for Dontavian Wicks.
Played Green Bay a bunch of times. You see his skill set. I mean, he's a physical, explosive player at the top of routes. He can play inside or out. So he's a guy that we had our eye on here. And then, bringing in some of these Green Bay guys, some of the hardest part of our job is the Kohat part, not understanding who the person is. And so when you get a chance to bring in some of these new coaches and then talk about some of the players and the skill set and then know how they are in the building, it makes you feel even more confident when you make the acquisition. And I think when you look at our receiver room over the last couple of years, obviously we lost Jahan. We've probably been fortunate about the depth that we haven't really had to dive into. And just studying the league and seeing how many teams, can go pretty deep in their receiver room, that was one of the priorities going into this offseason, is increasing the depth, the quality of talent in the receiver room throughout the room. So that really fit for us. Really excited to get Tay here and think he's an arrow up guy.
I personally am not a fan of saying, well, when they played us, like, man, we've done this game. Well, when Jeff Suppan pitched against the Brewers for the Cardinals. Well, when this guy with Kyle Loesch was with the Cardinals against the Brewers. Well, this guy was really good against the Bucks, so we went and we signed him. I don't like going about life that way. If I'm a fan with my GM saying, well, when they played us, he was really good. Like, I really liked what I saw when he played us. And that's pretty much what Howie Roseman did. Having said that, Howie Roseman knows what the hell he's doing. He's one of the best GMs in professional football. And I think if you're an Eagles fan, you have to trust Howie Roseman that they are going to put Dontavian Wicks in a position to go be that guy. Now, if A.J. Brown stays, he can't be that guy necessarily. If A.J. Brown ends up getting traded at some point here, it may come back to Dontavian Wicks having to be that guy. Can he be? I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. What's next?
And last up here, we're going to head on over to Locked On Badgers, where Ryan Herrings was discussing the Badgers and Chris McIntosh parting ways and why he thinks the Badgers could take advantage of this.
I feel like this is a massive opportunity and a better than not chance that you find somebody more aligned to this era of college sports than Chris McIntosh was. To me, There's a very good chance, and there's smart people at Madison. There's a very good chance that you come out of this with somebody, and Chris McIntosh was a product of a different era. Right? There's a very good chance to me that you align better coming out of this. And to me, that's just a massively positive thing. I don't like rooting for people to lose jobs. I'm not going to dance in anybody's grave, but to me, it feels like this is an opportunity for Wisconsin to move forward into this era.
We are going to talk more about this at 420. We're going to talk about this more at 420 as far as moving into the next era and how you go about it with a new AD, new chancellor, whatever changes may come. But the problem is there are multiple stories out there now from prominent people that say they were trying to help Wisconsin make more NIL money and were ignored by Madison during the last year or so. That is very, very concerning. That is the biggest issue of everything else. If I've got somebody trying to help me make money and do my job better, don't you think I'd return the phone call or the email or the text message?
At least talk to them.
Or the direct message on X or on Facebook.
You don't have to say yes. You don't even have to say yes. Just talk to them at least.
We need money so bad. We went to the government to ask for money. And now there are multiple people out there going, hey, I was trying to help and we couldn't get anybody to get back to me. Multiple people, both with significant amount of money that probably could have helped in some way, shape, or form. Whether it be through their celebrity, whether it be through writing a check, whatever could have helped. Both ignored, according to both of them. We'll talk more about that at 420. Got some breaking news on Diana Rossini.
There's an update?
Oh, yes, there is.
Ooh.
We will talk about that coming up next. That's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you, Charlie Usen over there. Plus, we'll get to our green and gold update and things that Sparky missed. And then at 6 o'clock, it's the leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, with our guy Tommy Wirtz coming up, not at 6 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, from 5 until 6:30. So keep it tuned to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It is that time again. Here we are, 4 o'clock hour, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Got some breaking news besides the Diana Rossini conversation. We are going to have the leadoff show coming up today from 5 to 6:30 with Tommy Wirtz. We're going to hear from Greg Jones. We're going to hear from Christian Yelich. I think Christian Yelich. I have not confirmed that he's talking. Greg Jones, I know, talked. And we know Pat Murphy talked. So he'll have that. We'll have starting lineups for you, all that fun stuff from 5 to 6:30 here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. However, the decision has been made with the severe weather in southeastern Wisconsin to cancel tonight's postgame show to get Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz out of harm's way. If indeed there is going to be potential harm tonight, you can call me Scaredy Cat if you want, but I'm not going to risk these guys' lives to do a postgame show for you all. Love you, but not that much. So
this place would burn down if Tommy wasn't here, man.
Well, this is the nice thing that where we are in our building, we have an old building here on premise that used to be the original building for AM 1250 in Milwaukee. And back in the day, AM 1250, when it was in that old building, was actually the flagship station for the Milwaukee Braves when they won the championship. It was actually on WEMP AM 1250 back in the day. That old building over there actually has a bomb shelter built into it, where there was a radio studio essentially ready to go, because in time of war, if another station in the Milwaukee area were to be bombed, they were the first to carry the news. Then WEMP was then the backup to broadcast to the city in case of war or whatever the case was going on. So that building is probably the safest building in the area as far as being in that building and being underground, essentially, if a tornado were to come rolling through.
How have we not tried to make that building like a historical site of some kind? You keep giving me crazy information about that place that man, we could make it a little museum if we wanted to.
Studios used to have orange shag carpeting on the walls and all of that.
It's not pretty right now, but I've been in there. It was cool.
We've ripped all that up since then, but so that's the deal. So sorry, I apologize. No post-game show tonight with Tim and Tommy. But we will have the leadoff show from 5 to 6:30, getting you ready for that game between the Brewers and the Blue Jays. Now, it is time of the hour, and it normally would mean that we do this right here.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
Okay, so we were going to talk Packers, and we will talk Packers, maybe. But Charlie and I have not talked about this Diana Rossini story, NFL insider from The Athletic, since this whole story broke. Charlie and I have stayed away from it. We haven't talked about it. We haven't dove into it. Because in a weird way, it's kind of like TMZ Sports is kind of what this whole thing is. We got pictures of them together at the pool. Oh, we got pictures of them holding hands. Oh, we have pictures of them hugging. Meanwhile, both are married and so forth. Then on social media, if you're on social media, everybody's unearthing all these Diana Rossini videos, kind of talking crap about her husband on national TV time and time again and all of this.
He's the vice president of Shake Shack, by the way.
Of Shake Shack. So he'll be fine if this goes sideways. He'll be okay. Diana Rossini, earlier in the 3 o'clock hour, posted this on X. I have submitted my letter of resignation to The Athletic. Everything I have to say about it is below. Now, in this, she says that she has come to this decision with deep sadness, but with clarity about what is right for me, my family, and the work I've spent my career building. And to The Athletic, she says, you and I have already publicly addressed the recent attacks against me, and I have nothing to add publicly to what we have said. I've covered the NFL with a professionalism and dedication throughout my career, and I stand behind every story I've ever published. When the page 6 item first appeared, The Athletic supported me unequivocally, expressed confidence in my work and pride in my journalism. For that, I am grateful. In the days that followed, unfortunately, commentators in various media have engaged in self-feeding speculation that is simply unmoored. I don't even know what that word is. I don't know. From the facts, I will tell you, it was not this show. We did not talk about you once, Diana Rossini. Moreover, this media frenzy is hurling forward without regard for the review process the Athletic is trying to complete. It continues to escalate, fueled by repeated leaks, and I have no intent in submitting to a public inquiry that has already caused far more damage than I am willing to accept. Rather than allowing this to continue, said Rossini, I have decided to step aside now before my current contract expires on June 30th. I do so not because I accept that narrative that has been constructed around this episode, but because I refuse to lend it further oxygen or to let it define me or my career. And then she goes on to talk more about her career and everywhere she's worked, and kind of lays out her resume of why they should believe her, whatever the case may be.
Unmoored means insecure, confused, or lacking contact with reality.
There you go. See, we learned a new word thanks to Diana Rossini. See, thank you, Diana Rossini. New word here learned on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network today. I don't know what happened. And I'll be honest, I don't care what happened. That ain't any of our business, man. She wants to go do whatever. That's her deal. He wants to go do whatever. That's his deal. I mean, the Rossini thing goes all the way back to who was it? Scott McClanahan or whatever his name was, McClowan, back in the day, and his now ex-wife, I believe.
Apparently Sean McVay, there's a story with him as well.
Right. Yeah. So his ex-wife was like going hard at Rossini back in the day when apparently she thought she was messing around with her husband at the time. The Sean McVay stuff, there's stuff out there.
His ex-wife retracted those statements about Rossini specifically, so that's another thing to put out there as well.
But why wouldn't you have retracted it till now?
Well, she retracted it back then.
Because that's all people were posting was her going after her, right? It's just not a good look. Now, I have no idea what her deal is or whatever. Does she get hired again? Does somebody else say, I don't really care. She's really good at what she does. She breaks stories. I want her with Yahoo Sports, or I want her with CBS Sports, or I want her with Netflix to be my football insider with Netflix, right? I mean, you could shoot reality video following her around, doing her job, going to the owners' meetings and doing all of this stuff. Like, you could do all of that. So as much as everybody wants to get mad about, Diana Rossini's, ethics and this and that, everybody get all mad. I really don't think this is going to jeopardize her career. I really don't think that this is going to stop anybody else from hiring her and paying her an awful lot of money to go continue to break stories at the end of the day. I don't. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe she'll get blackballed and never be allowed to work or do this again for a living. But I would be absolutely shocked if that happened.
I would be too. But at the same time, I guess what some people are frustrated with her about or confused about isn't really the fact that this all allegedly happened, but more so the fact that if this was happening, how did that reflect in her reporting? And that's what people are confused or concerned about, especially with the AJ Brown situation, because she got flack last season for pushing some narratives that felt like they were unfounded to some people. They were unfounded to the Eagles. The Eagles, Howie Roseman today was continuing to talk about how AJ Brown's happy, Jalen Hurts is happy, like we're okay, like we're fine. They keep pushing this other narrative, which we look at the Bucs and, some things can be hidden until they're over, and then you get a whole bunch of stuff coming out about it. But at the same time, it felt like AJ Brown, who'd been very open about his mental health, it seemed like a lot of these rumors were taking a toll on his mental health, and he talked about that. And a lot of people were criticizing her for pushing those rumors at points. And the top team that was targeting AJ Brown last season, supposedly at the trade deadline, was the New England Patriots, who the head coach is Mike Vrabel.
Right.
And that's why people are concerned about this and feel like that in the past when he was with Tennessee, they're looking back at reporting that she did back then and seeing if there was anything that reflects kind of just this same thing that's happening now. There's just a lot of questions surrounding this situation where the biggest problem isn't the situation itself. It's what did it affect around that.
Now, again, I want to clarify this. We'll get to some of your comments. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. You can also hit us up on YouTube and X as we live stream this bad boy at WI Sports Radio. Check out all our shorts and all our fun videos at YouTube as well. PacFan 3145, Charlie. has some interesting words.
They say smart move by her to resign. The Athletic/New York Times likely end the investigation, which means full details likely won't ever be released. Now she can likely land somewhere else.
I am somebody that kind of rolls my eyes from time to time when I hear somebody go, but if that was a woman, but if that was a guy, and that kind of tends to be from time to time. Like, for instance, the commissioner of, what was it, the WNBA or whatever, somebody asked her a question and she said, would you have asked me that question if I was a man or something like that? I said, like, I don't understand what one has to do with the other. Fine. In this situation, I mean, come on, man. So Jay Glazer's having beers and doing shots with Sean McVay. Does anybody care? If Jay Glazer is rolling around with Mike McCarthy, being boys and hanging out, anybody care? But if a female does the same thing, now I know, well, they're not holding hands, Sparky. Ugh. Whatever. My point is that all of these insiders, all of them, have personal relationships with a lot of the people that are their sources. And they built up trust in each other that the insider's not going to out that person. And that person trusts, the insider trusts that person to give them accurate information and not screw them and give them something else. And you develop relationships to the point where you may go out and have dinner with somebody at the NFL Combine, or you may go have drinks. I mean, again, go back and look. That deal where Rusina apparently was at, those were all those coaches that were sitting
They
around.
were all hanging out with them, yeah.
And who posted the video? Glazer.
Yeah,
Glazer's like, hey, here we are again, day drinking with all the coaches at the owners meeting. Ain't nobody mad at Jay Glazer for hanging out with all these cats. That's a personal relationship. Right? Back in the day, when you would go to the Combine down in Indianapolis when Mike McCarthy was coach, it was clear as day that Glazer and McCarthy are boys. And when that Brett Favre thing went down back in the day, Glazer was running the side of the Packers and McCarthy. And what was Brett Favre doing? He was using, Peter King found this out later, he was using Peter King to get what he wanted out there. So King had Favre, Glazer had McCarthy, and that was the war of the insiders based on their personal relationships. That's how it played out. And then you see those guys later, and they're rolling together. They're boys. They're friends. And how many friends does Glazer have in the league that he's done MMA training with and everything else? He's ton.
Friends with everybody, it feels
Is
like
anybody questioning his ethics and what he does and all of that?
Like because him and Devontae Wyatt doing stem cell research last season together in the off season. Yeah,
he's got personal relationships. They may not be romantic, but they're still beyond professional at this point. Nobody's going after these guys for doing the exact same thing to a certain degree. Ram, north side of Milwaukee. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up, Ram?
What's up, Sparky? Well, as an athlete, it used to be a time where stuff like that was, like I was still telling Charlie, whatever happens in the locker room stays in the locker room.
Sure.
Now, Sparky, I'm a little bit older than you, but it used to be the only time you get this type of, I call it trash media about somebody's personal life would be the National Enquirer.
Right.
Because even in Entertainment Tonight, when you watch Entertainment Tonight, they'll say, well, this person is dating this person, but they don't get into the
TMZ side of stuff.
Yeah, right. So when TMZ came out, they just took the lid off of everything, off the trash can, the sewers, and everything. But then there's a different generation that is interested in who sleeping with who. Now, personally, for me, Sparky, I don't give a D.
Agree.
Who?
Me too.
You as a married man, you don't feel like that too. You see it, but you in media. But I never hear you really talk about stuff like that.
We did not touch it on this show.
And I respect you for that. That's why I like listening to your show, and ever since you've been on radio, you keep everything straightforward because you don't care about that stuff. Hell, you got your own family to deal with.
Correct.
But when I heard that, I was just sitting like, wow. They said even with Belichick, okay, he older, he got a young one, so what? I mean, I never even thought about it even after that. You know, if that's who he wants to be with, so what? You know, but the people who talk about it, most times they want to be in that situation.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know about all that. Thanks for the call, Rim. I don't know. But my thing is, regardless of what's going on, there may not be anything going on. They might just be friends. Nothing physical may never have happened or whatever else. But because of how this is blown up, now there are probably trust issues in both those relationships because now significant others of both are questioning, well, what the hell was that all about? How many other dudes' hands have you held that are coaches in the NFL? How many other female reporters have you hugged if you're the head coach of the Patriots? Like now there becomes questions in the family and creates more drama than probably was even needed at any point if there is nothing going on, which they both claim there's not. So again, my thing on all of this is just the same, which is you can't come after them for saying, well, you crossed a personal line. No, because all of these insiders have relationships with all of these dudes, all of them. Now, they may not be female, but they all have their relationships with them for sure. And there's sideline reporters that also have relationships with the players that they cover too. You're telling me if you're a sideline reporter and you cover a team 162 games out of the year or 82 games out of the year or 17 weeks out of the year, whatever the case may be, and you're covering this team for 4 or 5 years, there's not going to be any type of conversations or relationships of getting to know each other during that entire run? Come on. Of course there is. Absolutely there is. That doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it what it is. That's part of it. And just like these national NFL sideline reporters, same thing. Play-by-play guys or women, you're going to get to know people over the course of time. The coaches you like, those that you don't, you're going to hear the stories, the background, everything else. There's going to be certain people you like hanging with and having conversations with. There's going to be other people like, okay, I have to do this, so we'll get through this as quickly as possible, and then we'll move on. Referees. You don't think referees hang out and know some of these players off the court, know some of these coaches off the court or off the field? Of course they do.
Danny Hurley situation in this past NCAA tournament was all just a fiasco because apparently they were friends.
Exactly. Right. That happens across sports. It's been happening across sports forever. This didn't start this year. This has been going on forever. I don't know if that changes anybody's opinion one way or the other, or clears anything up, but I just wanted to have my say on that. Now that Diana Rossini officially quit The Athletic and she'll get hired somewhere else and then we'll move on again. And as soon as she gets hired, the problem here is that as soon as she gets hired, all this is going to get brought back up again.
Or if she says something wrong, like the way people joke on social media nowadays, it's just constantly bringing up bad things just because she said something wrong.
She's going to be in a bad light based on how she'll be judged from here on out, which kind of stinks. But again, regardless, none of our deal, I don't think, at the end of the day. All right, coming up next, we'll get to our green and gold update. It'll be a segment later than normal, but we'll get to that straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen, hanging out with you. We'll get to Think Sparky Missed, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals, coming up in the last segment of the show. Then it's the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz, a big old Uncle Love, from 5 until 6:30. Again, if you're just tuning in, we canceled the post-game show for tonight because of severe weather chances, it looks like, in southeastern Wisconsin, and we're trying to get Tim and Tommy out of possible potential harm's way if something were to pop off around the radio station where we are. So we're giving them the night off. So we'll be back to doing our thing again coming up tomorrow. With that being said, we'll play this open for a second time.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, let's get back to our green and gold update. Normally we do in the first segment, but the Diana Rossini thing kind of took over there, I guess you could say. This is a piece of audio from Field Yates. This was from NFL Live on ESPN yesterday. And this is Field Yates talking about the Packers, the draft, all that fun stuff.
I mean, no team has been more willing to take a leap of faith or show a leap of faith on a player or a position group than the Packers, excuse me. I mean, we've seen this most notably with Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers and then Jordan Love. Like, this team has conviction on its players. And you think back to some of the seeds of where we're at right now, that 2023 draft class where they double dip at tight end with Tucker Kraft and actually prior to him, Luke Musgrave. There's a lot of pedigree on this roster, and the pick last year at the time, yes, it was exciting. And I thought Matthew Golden, I can tell you based off how I drafted in fantasy football, was going to have a pretty special rookie season for the Packers in 2025. And I think the Packers probably had more hopes for him than 0 touchdowns during the regular season. But I think the other acknowledgement from the Packers is that the draft is not about just today. And trust me, I get it. It's exciting for us to find the perfect marriage between player and team need and team. Sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it is about realizing that a year from now, you might be paper thin at wide receiver or tight end or offensive line or pass rush or wherever it may be. So Green Bay's prior drafts are going to perhaps be the focal point of this offseason amongst all of the departures that we have already seen.
So there you go. Field Yates is pretty much saying this offseason looks to be about the Packers trusting that their draft picks from the last couple of years will take a step forward, improve significantly, and that will be how the Packers will essentially get better. We ask you, how much confidence do you have in prior Packer draft picks stepping up this season? So, for instance, Savion Williams, Matthew Golden, potentially Lucas Van Ness, Devontae Wyatt, Edgerrin Cooper taking another step, right? Luke Musgrave maybe finally taking another step forward. Maybe the running back that we refer to as no name, maybe he stays on the field for the first time in his career and he has an impact in the running back room. Maybe that is how this team does improve. How much confidence do you have in that actually happening, though? Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, on the socials at WI Sports Radio. And of course, we are streaming live at WI Sports Radio with X and on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or everywhere you want us to be. Maybe at some point, TikTok. We'll see how that works out. Charlie Usen, I ask you, how much confidence do you have in these draft picks from the last couple of years of working out? Another guy, Jordan Morgan, starting left tackle, having to go be that guy this year.
Well, and I don't even really think it's just those guys. I think we need to see Christian Watson play an entire season, please, and have him take that step into that number one wide receiver like we're talking about. Tucker Kraft, you could kind of say the same thing. He's had 2 season-ending injuries now. You got to say, when do we see you stay on the field and fully take on that tight end 1 role, a tight end top 5 in the NFL? Because you can do that. We've seen you be able to do that. When can you do that? Jordan Love, you could have, it's everybody on this team that has been drafted by the Packers. You need them all to take a next step this season. I think it's more necessary that those guys do than maybe a running back who shall not be named, or maybe even more than a Savion Williams, who's potentially going to be your number 4, number 5 wide receiver, depending on veterans and draft picks that you bring in this year. I think that for those guys all to take that next step into semi-superstardom, semi-stardom, semi-Pro Bowl, like just into that level, just get to that point, that's a lot more unlikely to me than seeing all these other younger guys that are going to get bigger shots this year take that next step, because we've seen those guys do that. We've seen Sean Ryan, when given a bigger sample size, take that next step. We've seen Rasheed Walker, when given the bigger sample size, take a step that people weren't expecting. It's these top tier guys that have to take that next step for me, and I just find that a little harder to believe because they have to stay on the field now.
So something that we've discussed in the last year or so when talking about the Green Bay Packers is Matt LaFleur, his coaching staff, and the development and how they go about getting guys better that they draft. Now, I think you could definitely say Jordan Love has gotten better, and that has worked. I think you could definitely say that Tucker Kraft has taken steps forward since being drafted by Matt LaFleur. You have to give him credit for Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft. I think to a degree you can say the same thing with Christian Watson. However, you can't keep him healthy, like Charlie just said. Now, that I don't think is Matt LaFleur's fault necessarily, but you could definitely say that he has improved since his time in Green Bay. I think you can live with that. Zach Tom has become a rock star on the offensive line. Again, he wasn't healthy last year, but when healthy, he was awesome. There's no question about that. So that takes care of the offensive side of the ball. And maybe even to a degree, Jaden Reed, but again, still some drops. But that's that side of the ball. On the defensive side of the football, Xavier Williams, you signed, right? Xavier McKinney, not Xavier Williams. Xavier McKinney, you signed.
Mix the two.
So I'm not giving them credit for that. But Evan Williams at safety, I think he's gotten better. I think they deserve credit for Evan Williams. Keyshawn Nixon was supposed to be just a special teams player, and he ended up being a starting cornerback. Now, he may not be a great starting cornerback, but either way, a starting cornerback. So maybe you give LaFleur's coaching staff some credit for that as well. On the defensive line, Colby Wooden was good enough to trade. You're able to get something back for him. Carl Brooks has shown flashes. Devontae Wyatt has shown flashes at this point. Van Ness really hasn't done enough or anything to really get too excited about Lucas Van Ness at this point. Ingabare is another guy that showed you stuff, able to go get a contract elsewhere. Quay Walker did enough to go get a sizable contract elsewhere too. And that's another guy that early on was a struggle bus, and they made him into a solid linebacker, Charlie.
Solid enough. But again, I just think in my mind, this season for the Green Bay Packers, it has to stop being about just getting credit for taking a small step. At some point, a lot of these guys have to take bigger steps in order to be a Super Bowl caliber team. And I think that's where a lot of Packers fans feel like the talent on this roster can take them. But again, if you're not taking those big steps, you're taking little steps, or you're just staying stagnant, then that is going to be a problem. And I just feel like it's a lot more likely that at least 3 or 4 of these guys stay stagnant versus taking a huge step.
And that's the thing. You have to continue to get better. Now, that's not to say that everybody doesn't plateau at some point. Absolutely. Most guys after 3-4 years in a league, baseball, not baseball because you're in the minors working your way up, but NFL, NBA, sometimes after 3, 4, 5 years, you're kind of plateaued. That's kind of who you are. Other guys, that climb just continues up, right? You're LeBron, continues up. Kobe continues up. Giannis continues up. But even for them at some point, then it plateaus. Now you are who you are for however long. And then all of a sudden, the other side of that hill comes quickly. And now you start to decline on the other side of your career. To Charlie's point, you don't want the plateau to happen in year 2 for the rest of your time with the team. You want that to continue to grow and get better as you move forward. Sometimes it's on the coaches to do that. Sometimes it's on the scheme to put you in a better situation to make plays on offense. And sometimes it's simply on the player, whether or not they want to work hard and do what's asked of them to get themselves to the next level, which then goes back to character and knowing who you're drafting, when you're drafting them, when you're Brian Gutekunst as the GM.
Well, and those guys, when you are in games, that you trust them enough as a coaching staff, as a front office, that they trust you and know the offense well enough or the defense well enough that when they do make their own decisions, it's not going to be detrimental to the team. It's that they can use the scheme to their advantage. Right. Very dissimilar from what the Bucs were doing, where you just had a bunch of guys that didn't understand Doc's scheme, didn't understand Doc, and just said, you know what, I can be a good player. I'm going to go do what I want. Those are two very different kinds of doing what you want. One is informed and ready to do it for his team and knows how to play within the scheme, but also change the scheme if needed. And another one is a bunch of selfish guys just going out there trying to make some money for themselves.
Let's go to the Nicolay La Talka text line asking you how much confidence you have in prior Packer draft picks in stepping up this season. Guys that you're like, okay, Matthew Golden, it's your time. Let's go do something now. Adrian Cooper, take a step. Let's go do something now. Field Yates says that's what they do, and that's what this offseason is about for the Packers. There's these last couple of years of draft picks now to take that big step into bigger roles this upcoming season. How much confidence do you have in that happening? Nicolay La Talka text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. CB, downtown Milwaukee. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up?
What's going on, my man? I got 4 of them, then all of the rest of them to me is just role players and maybe special teams players. But Golden for me, Cooper, Wyatt, and the surprise of them all, Javon Bullard.
Ooh, that's another one. There you go.
Yep. That's all I got.
I like Javon Bullard. Now let's talk about Bullard for a second, CB. Thanks for the call. Safety. They drafted Evan Williams later, and then they drafted Oladipo, however you say his name, Oladipo later in the draft too. So they drafted 3 safeties that year. 3 safeties. Bullard was first. Now, there was talk on Bullard coming out that, hey, maybe he can be that nickel corner, that slot corner, and be okay there. And then you allow Evan Williams or the other guy to come in and be that guy. And Bullard has developed into a pretty damn good nickelback at this point for what you're asking him to do. And even in moments where he had to play safety last year, he looked much better than he did the year previous when he got put in that situation.
Definitely. And it just felt like Hafley felt more comfortable with him as a player after one season. He took a massive step last season from his rookie year.
And again, who did you say did that?
Hafley. Yeah. Well, and I think you look at the rest of the league and the impact that that type of player can have on a defense. A Nick Eamon-Warrior, Kyle Hamilton, Nick Eamon-Warrior in Seattle, Hamilton in Baltimore. And the effect that that type of guy can have is he can continue to take those massive steps. It's going to be huge for this defense and for this team. And hopefully it inspires those other guys to take those massive steps.
And that comes back to a guy that they brought in Jonathan Gannon, a former head coach, a defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Baker for a couple of years now and has kept him at an all-pro level. He's more of a safety than a slot guy, but still a player that has that same type of effect.
Correct. And now you're going to ask him, a guy that LaFleur should get credit for bringing in, you're going to ask that guy to come in and continue the development of Adrian Cooper and do something with him, right? Continue the development of Devontae Wyatt and continue to make him better. Evan Williams, like we were talking about, getting him maybe to the next level back there at that safety position with Xavier McKinney. That's what you're looking for from this Packers coaching staff and figuring out who that guy is going to be. 414, first-round picks should force themselves into the lineup. And LVN, Morgan, and so far Golden haven't done that. But if you go back and listen to what we played from Field Yates, he said that even last year, he thought Matthew Golden was going to come in and be a rock star his rookie year. He drafted him in fantasy thinking that. And then said after that everybody gets so wrapped up in that first year. But really, at the end of the day, it's about how the player turns out long-term more than it is short-term, unless you're in Super Bowl or bust mode and must have that guy. So, for instance, the Packers come off of that playoff season where they draft Jordan Love the next year. And they needed a wide receiver desperately, like a T. Higgins, who everybody talks about. And if they go T. Higgins and they don't go Jordan Love, that's a play for now. And instead, they went future, and they drafted A.J. Dillon next. And they did all of this stuff, and none of it was meant for that next upcoming season. They were starting the rebuild before they even had to, drafting ahead of time, something else Green Bay has done very well over the course of time. So to your point, 414, the Packers sometimes operate like that. So when Ted drafts B.J. Raji, it was the most obvious need in the world. Everybody had Raji going to the Packers, and then he did it. What everybody didn't have was him popping back up from the second to get a pass rusher in Clay Matthews. Nobody had that on their bingo card, but that was a short-term and a long-term play because he loved Clay Matthews so much, Charlie.
Well, and he felt like both those guys could help them be Super Bowl contenders immediately. So you have to kind of decide this season, next season, when are you going to be at that point at policy Brian Gutekunst and say, we're Super Bowl contenders. We have to be more aggressive with some of these guys. And that also means pushing the draft picks that you've had already and say, hey, we need you to step up like we're talking about on the text line here.
He is Charlie using Steve Sparky 5 with you. Back to that Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250 from the 920. Savion Williams, 840 yards, 8 touchdowns. Book it from JB in the 920. He does that.
All right.
This offense is cooking with gas. If Savion Williams plays like that, because right now he's their fourth wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't go draft a wide receiver in the second round or third round coming up on day 2 of the draft. Speaking of day 2 of the draft, we are going to have Green Bay football draft show coming up next Friday night for the second and third rounds. Packers on the first round. So second and third rounds, Green Bay is making their selections. Charlie Usen and I will be on the air doing that show. Now we will have the post-game show after the Brewers game coming up on Friday night as well. That starts at 9:30. So Charlie and I will be on either right up to 9:30, or if the Brewers game ends a little bit early, Tim and Tommy will hop on, we'll hop off and get out of the way. But Charlie and I hosting the draft show coming up, second and third rounds on next Friday night from 6 until 9:30, or whenever the Brewer game gets done, if it gets done earlier. Charlie Wirtz and Charlie Usen and Tommy Wirtz did the first round last year when the draft was in Green Bay. You guys hosted the show because a lot of us were in Green Bay doing our shows. That's why I obviously couldn't do it. And you guys were awesome.
It was a lot of fun. And when Matthew Golden came around, like that just came out of nowhere. The whole place went wild. So we were going wild in here. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time with it.
It was absolutely amazing. So they did a great job with the first round last year. I've never done a second and third round show. Or have I? No, I take that back. Yes, I have done a second and third round show because back in the day, I was doing that day when they drafted Jordy Nelson, and that was not a first round pick. So I guess I have done it, but it's probably been since that year that I've done a draft show in the second, third round. It's not an easy show to do because if we're being honest, most people have not seen all of these guys and have knowledge of all of these guys on the second and third round. So a lot of this is relying on draft guides and what they say and Googling and looking up YouTube video quickly about things, assessing other rosters of what they need, what they did in the offseason, all that stuff. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll, of course, take your calls and your texts next week, Friday night, for rounds 2 and 3 throughout that show. So looking forward to that. Coming up, things that Sparky missed on today's show, including the Badgers apparently just not wanting money, NIL money from celebrities, which I don't understand, but we'll get into that next. Can you feel it? It's a thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam, a buzzer-beating 3. It's Sparky, you know the feeling. There's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration, the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Catch all the action in a supreme space, dozens of sports betting kiosks, cool drinks, 48 beers, dozen different specialty cocktails, luxury seating, 2 levels. They got single-style, like, lounger chairs, it kind of looks like. They got big 8-man booths as well, tabletop tables with chairs, or high tabletops. Is that what I'm saying? Is that right? I'm
high
not
tops.
A bar guy.
High tops.
High top. Yeah, high top tables.
You're right
as well. Somewhere in that area. And that's why they should give me a script detailing every single table. And I'm just kind of riffing here as we go. Cool drinks, 48 beers, a dozen different specialty cocktails, full menu at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, including pastries and desserts made right there every day, including brunch served all day long, fiery atmosphere, and a monster video wall, 2,000 square feet, over 30 sporting events at one time. UFC Fight Night, they just had on over the weekend. Turned it up and had a party at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Also, don't forget they have shuttle service to and from Brewers home games. You can park right there for free at the Potawatomi Sportsbook and take the shuttle over. More details on how to take advantage of the Brewer shuttles, go to Potawatomi.com. Again, Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky, Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen, other side of the glass. Got a few minutes left here. Thanks for listening again. If you're in southeastern Wisconsin, be careful tonight. Got a bunch of severe weather coming. No post-game show tonight. However, we will have the leadoff show coming up here momentarily from 5 to 6:30 with our guy Tommy Wirtz. You'll hear from Christian Yelich talking about him going on the IL today. There is some reports out there. You could be out to mid-May with a groin strain. And then we have Greg Jones being called up from AAA, 28-year-old outfielder, was drafted as a shortstop back in the day by the Rays. He is up. He was hitting over 300 at AAA Nashville. We'll hear from him in the leadoff show today. Plus, we'll hear from Pat Murphy from before the game, too, as injuries continue to be an issue for the Milwaukee Brewers. But before we get to Tommy Wirtz and all of that coming up at 5 o'clock.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
All right, time to get the things that we missed. So this here is from Big Cat. Who is Big Cat, Charlie?
Dan Katz. He works for Barstool. He hosts Pardon My Take with PFT commentator. I don't know his real name. That's PFT is what they call him. It's a funny show, but he is a Wisconsin alumni,
Right.
and he has offered or said multiple times in the past on his show, Pardon My Take, that he'd be willing to help out Wisconsin if they asked.
And check this out.
A small piece of Wisconsin and all this stuff going on, but I've offered to pay NIL money and no one's followed up with me for like anything. Like multiple times asked. It's crazy. Like, and again, maybe they don't respect podcast money and they're like, oh, this guy doesn't, you can't pay us in Bored Apes. But you'd think that someone would follow up with me. Someone would be like, hey, you remember when you said you wanted to give money?
Okay, so that was a very, very disgruntled and upset Big Cat that Chris McIntosh is on his way out. And through this whole time, he was trying to get him money to help pay students and whatever the case may be. Then last night, Frank Kaminsky got involved, and he tweeted, I've talked to Dan multiple times about trying to do something to help NIL. Haven't talked to anyone directly within the athletics department myself, but have made it known I'd be willing to help raise money if asked, as I'm sure many other former players would as well. You explain to me why we're ignoring people that want to help, want to give you money, help you compete in the Big Ten. Why are we ignoring people?
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to me. Like, I've kind of been thinking about this throughout the show today since we started talking about this. Like, we talked about Chris McIntosh yesterday and how long he had been in this deal with the Big Ten and if there was anything before the deal with the government. This kind of makes me feel like he had been in it for a pretty long time now and that he didn't want to make any extra deals on the side besides the one that would get him the job at the Big Ten because he knew he wouldn't be there long term and didn't want to saddle somebody with potentially a situation they may not want to be in. Like, this feels like he was trying to do the one thing he needed to do and get out of there.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And it's very frustrating. I'm going to play something that's self-gratifying to me on the way out.
He doesn't want to look back. He just wants to stay positive and keep it simple, Chet.
He just did it. Another homer. Line drive bullet from Jordan Walker, his 8th.
I have been asking time and time again, Charlie will say, for Jordan Walker over and over. Everybody laughs at me. He sucks. He's a bum. He's not any good, Sparky. Give it up. He can't play. Jordan Walker's on a tear right now. Now, he may suck in May, June, July, and August, and September, but while he's hot, gosh darn it, why couldn't they have traded for Jordan Walker? Tomorrow, our 2-year anniversary of the show with Charlie Usen and myself. So we'll celebrate that tomorrow. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Have a good night, Wisconsin. Toodles.